Hey guys, it's Nik the Booksmith. Welcome back, welcome back. I hope everybody is doing well today. I thought it was time for a random fun little project that could be applied to books, home decor projects, or gifts, or all kinds of things. A couple of years ago, I had bought some Crackle medium. It's not the kind of Crackle medium that crackles paint where you have to put it between two coats of paint or on top of paint, whatever. But this is a clear Crackle varnish so that whatever you have underneath can show through. Here is a representation. This one, as you can see, has been crackled, but I have not added any grunge or light or metallic or anything into the cracks. It is just crackled and hasn't been treated any more than that. This one has been treated and I used an antiquing cream. You can also use watered down paint. Water-based stain might even work. Mica, eyeshadow, all kinds of things can be done to dirty up those cracks. My favorite brand, and I have several, I've got Deco Art and Folk Art and Ranger, but my very favorite brand is Polyvine. And these are the big bad boy bottles. Didn't probably really need 500 milliliter bottles, but here we are. So I thought we should use some of it. How's that sound? I was going to make some little cameos and I have some printed out. And these are 30 by 40 millimeter cameos. And I thought I would work with these. These are just printed on some photo paper, just matte photo paper. We have a choice when it comes to how we go about the steps. I could leave all of the cameos on the paper and do the crackle treatment and then cut them out. I think I'm not going to do that. I'm sure there is a paper punch out there somewhere that is made for cutting out this size of oval or cameo, because a lot of these 30 millimeter by 40 millimeter frames or, cabochon pendant findings they're pretty standard. So I'm assuming that there's probably out there somewhere something of that sort. I just don't have one. So I have to go about doing it the old school fussy cut way, which is my fave, Squares are much easier and rectangles. But that isn't what I went for, is it? Could have had the Cricut cut these out, but I figured not everybody has a Cricut, so I will go old school. What I might do is leave a few of them on the backing paper just to see how they cut out after the crackle is applied, just to see how that works out as far as cutting it away from the paper. All right, I'm gonna put it on this wax paper and I'll leave a couple of these the way they are. I don't really need to do all of these, do I? Yes, my voice is still a little croaky, but it is better. Slowly but surely, I guess. Now for the base coat. The base coat needs to be put on fairly generously. It kind of looks like half and half. I will do the one that's attached to the paper first. There's one. Another thing you can also do is if you want to go ahead and glue this down to some kind of maybe a heavier card, and then I'm going to zoom in a little there. And then that way it'll have a little bit more structure if you need it to be heftier. You know what I mean? They say to avoid getting brush strokes, which I think they say that just to mess with you, because they say two things. So avoid brush strokes, and then the other thing is don't go over it too many times. It's almost impossible if you're going to get out the brush strokes. You're going to have to go over it more than once, right? Like I said, I think they're just trying to mess with us. I have tried so many different kinds of crackle medium. This one has always been the clear winner, at least for getting a glaze. as opposed to crackling paint, because I don't want to crackle paint. That wasn't my point here, because my point was to be able to see the image underneath the crackle glaze and not cover it up with paint. But this one has always been my ultimate favorite brand. I believe it is manufactured in the UK. So those of you that live overseas might be able to get this in local shops and home improvement stores, that kind of thing. I've never been able to find this locally. I just get it on Amazon. It is not cheap, not even a little bit. However, these bottles that I bought will probably last a wicked long time because I'm not using it on big pieces of furniture or anything. But as long as you seal up the bottles well after you're done using them before you store them again, and it should last a good long time. I think I bought these bottles in the end of 2019. All right, now we have to let that dry. And this base coat, like a lot of other Crackle, two-part Crackle kits, it'll stay tacky. It doesn't dry, totally dry. You know what I mean? And this one, I thought I would put a little glue, and this is stencil card, and then stick this puppy down just to give it a little bit of structure. I think the first coat is dry enough. And now for the second coat, it's supposed to go on with as few brush strokes as possible. And as it is with most Crackle mediums, the thinner it is applied, the finer the cracks. Then of course the opposite is true. A thicker coat will yield larger cracks. As far as length of brush strokes go, the cracks will follow the brush strokes, but I don't know if it's really something you can control that much anyway. So if you decide to get this Polyvine Craquelure, I suggest testing it out to see what kind of crackle appeals to you. I will make sure that it is on my Amazon favorites. But what I like about this crackle medium is that it gives a fine eggshell as opposed to a weathered, painted look. Oh, don't muck around with it too much, right? Famous last words. It's like asking me not to breathe. You can get this in smaller containers. I think they're like maybe 4 ounce, which they did not have at the time. So, and you know me, go big or go home. Okay, I'm gonna set these aside because they need to dry. And while I'm doing that, I'll grab this one. And this is the one that I glued to the stencil card. Okay, I will be back as soon as these finish doing their crackle thing. Okay, so we have all crackled, and now we just have to choose how we are going to accentuate those crackles, if at all. Usually, my rule of thumb is that if the Cameo is mostly dark colors, then I go for a pale or metallic color to wipe on. And if it is lighter, then I go for a darker one. Not rocket science. Okay. I have this cheap palette of brown and neutral eyeshadow, and they are not sparkly. There's no mica in them. They're just flat. And I'm going to take some and just work it into these cracks and crevices. And so there's this one. I think I'll do the same with this one, the one that I backed on the card. I think that one's really pretty. It looks like crackled porcelain or tile. Kind of pretty though. And then these 3 faces could probably go with for some a lighter powder or paint. And I think it's going to have to be paint. I have some lighter powder around here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I'll use this silver. And here's this lady and this cameo with the silver in there. I think I'll try gold. Here is this lovely lady with gold. And here's this one. The deeper the cracks, then the more of whatever accent color you put inside of those cracks will end up staying. Do you remember this little book that I made during the last craft time mystery? Well, I decided that it needed something for the front. So I took a piece of cardstock and I painted it with a grayed down purple, and then I dry brushed on a little bit of the silver, and then I took some sandpaper to it to kind of blend it all together, and I thought that would look kind of cool on the front. And then I thought I'd put one of these cameos in the middle. Sound good? As you can see, I painted it green first and then I changed my mind. I am allowed. So I'm going to get some regular glue, just white glue, and I'm just going to brush the PVA on the back. And I'm just going to sandwich this in between and put a clamp or 2 on it. There we go. And let that dry for just a minute. And then next I will take the cameo of choice. There we go. I think that looks better. Gives it a little bit of interest on the front. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little project today, and maybe it gave you some ideas as well for using some kind of crackle medium, whichever you choose to use. There's lots of good ones out there, so go forth and crackle, my friends. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this little project, and maybe it gave you some ideas for using some crackle medium in your projects. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you all really, really soon in the next video. Bye, guys!